Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Fannie, Letitia, and Jack, the Legal Evils. Please welcome Senior Fellow at Claremont Institute, John Eastman, and partner at Tactic Global, Barry Bennett.
Thank you very much. My name is Barry Bennett, and this is Professor John Eastman. The professor is a brilliant legal scholar, and I am a fan of, just watched the TV show Lincoln Lawyers. We have a lot in common. But what we do have in common, unfortunately, is that we were both made victims of our own government because we dared stand with Donald Trump. For me, I ran Ben Carson's campaign back in 2015, 2016, Great American. And I became a senior advisor to the Trump campaign in 2016. Within months of working at the Trump campaign, Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, gave my name along with 25 others to the Five Eyes to ask our so-called allies to spy on us in the Russiagate. That led to me being bumped by both the UK and Australia and endlessly grilled about Russia and Hillary's emails and all this other crap. And then that, led to, the FBI taking my phone and my emails, the emails of my 9-year-old kid. They took my Uber Eats account. They got a lot of information there. But, one of the things, unfortunately, that John and I have in common, we both had to spend millions of dollars to defend ourselves. And John, I'm further along in the process. John is still in the fight, and he needs our help. But anyway, I want to be quick and tell you who I was and what I've gone through, but John's case is really happening right now. So I want him to have 7.5 minutes, and I'll take 2.5.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Look, one of the most egregious examples of the psychological analysis of projection was when the Democrats, before the 2024 election, said President Trump would weaponize the Department of Justice. I said, are you kidding me? What have we been looking at for the last 4 years? They took my phone in New Mexico outside of a restaurant with an egregiously broad warrant that said all the data on your phone. Now, we fought a revolutionary war to stop that. That's called the general warrant. The Fourth Amendment requires that they identify what they're going to search and seize with particularity. They just said everything on your phone. And of course, modern phones are a portal to everything, every communication, every transaction you have. They said, oh no, we're not allowed to look at what we've seized until we get a second warrant. And about a month later, I start getting inquiries from a taint team in Portland, Oregon, asking if certain things I was going to assert privilege over. I said, well, I've got a question. How do you even have that? Where was this second warrant? Oh, we got that. I said, I haven't seen it. Well, yeah, but the phone was in our possession by then, so we served the warrant on ourselves. This is utter nonsense, and they are shredding the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the right to counsel, the right to attorney-client privilege. I had a client, my wife sometimes he would forget the time zone difference from where I was on the West Coast and where he was, 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and my wife would nudge me and said, you better get that, it might be the client. Well, the client was the President of the United States. And he asked me to help him get the legal challenges to the fraudulent and illegal election in 2020 for the courts to actually consider that. And for that, I was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in Jack Smith's criminal prosecution against President Trump, an indicted co-conspirator in Georgia, an indicted co-conspirator in Arizona, where I had no involvement whatsoever. They've put my bar license in California currently on inactive status. I can't practice out there. At least I'm still able to practice before the Supreme Court of the United States. But part of what's going on here, and they've admitted this, it's to scare lawyers from ever taking on causes or clients that the left doesn't want you to take on. This is an egregious abuse of our criminal justice system, the likes of which we have never seen. In 1940, Franklin Roosevelt's new appointment as Attorney General, Robert Jackson, he would later become Supreme Court Justice and later head of the Nuremberg trials after World War II. And he had all the U.S. attorneys in the country at a meeting, and he warned them not to abuse their power. And the greatest temptation for abuse of power was to find people you don't like and then scour the books to see if you can pin something on them, rather than beginning with the crime and investigate who done it. And that's what we have been witnessing out of the Department of Justice, out of the FBI, out of that ridiculous select committee on J6, with Liz Cheney running it, and destroying exculpatory evidence, issuing subpoenas without sign-off by courts, acting as law enforcement agencies without all the guardrails that our Constitution puts on law enforcement agencies. And people have said, well, Eastman, why don't you just look forward and leave it alone, don't look back? If we don't get to the bottom of what they did and hold the people who did it accountable, they will do it again the first opportunity they get. So I have been thrilled with all of President Trump's nominees, but I think the one that is going to be most relevant to this fight is the one that got confirmed yesterday, 51 to 48, Kash Patel. Because in my view, what we have been witnessing is a nationwide conspiracy to deprive political opponents of their constitutional rights to free speech, to assembly, the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. And if you don't hold people accountable for what they did for that, that's a federal felony, by the way. There's a group called States United Democracy Center. They filed the bar complaint against me in California. They're a rabid anti-Trump organization designed to go after all the lawyers that were trying to help Trump. They were the ones that were hired by the Attorney General of Arizona to prepare the prosecution memo for the electors and me and unindicted co-conspirator Trump in Arizona. And I've told media, I said, that's a little like hiring the fox to do the safety memo for your chicken coop. It's utter nonsense. And the people that are doing that need to be held accountable. And you know, if they spend some time in prison, maybe the next time they get power, they'll be a little bit hesitant about taking on this kind of lawfare against us.
Amen. Amen. And we'll never get our privacy back. We may never get our reputations back, but this must not happen again.
That's right. I teach at the Claremont Institute, our summer fellowship program, and I was teaching our John Marshall Fellows, young lawyers, when the indictment in Georgia came down, and everybody's phone starts going off, and they made fun of it at the end of the week when they did our big roasting. But the gentleman that roasted me then turned serious. And he said, what we saw here was an exhibition of courage, and courage is contagious. And then he said, if you think about the last line of our national anthem, it's not so much whether that flag was still waving. It's what kind of land it is waving over. Is it still the land of the free and the home of the brave? Or is it now the land of the coward and the home of the slave? And ladies and gentlemen, I've got grandkids, and I'm not willing to hand them over to a land of the coward and the home of the slave. We fight this battle until we win permanently. We fight it every day. We fight it in the streets. We fight it in the courts. We fight it wherever we can, because our freedom is too precious to give up. Thank you. You think about it, our founders pledged to each other their lives, and they meant it. Their fortunes, and they meant it. Just ask Robert Morris, who funded the Revolutionary War largely. But most importantly for them, more important than either of those, they pledged their sacred honor. What kind of sacred honor will we have if we hand off to our grandkids an enslavement contrary to what we inherited from our forebears. This is the fight for our time. It's the fight worth having. I can't think of anything more important to be doing. And I thank you all for being here and for the army that you are, for keeping America free, keeping America prosperous, and let's make America great again. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.